The next topic I would like to talk about is something that the Brexit campaign is very prominently using as an argument to leave the EU, which is these 375 million you pay as contributions to the EU budget. Now, funnily, the Remain side is kind of concentrating on that number 375, that it's wrong, that it's less because you get something back again, etc. But I'm not going to go there because it's completely irrelevant. And why is it irrelevant? Because if you add up these 375 per week, you end up per year with your total contribution to the EU budget, which is 17 billion pounds. Now, that sounds like an enormous number. Like 17 billion pounds. And the Brexit side tells you, oh, we could do all kinds of wonders with these 17 billion pounds. You know, we could build hospitals, we could build schools, we could fix our roads and transform this country with that money. Now, what's the fallacy about this? The fallacy is that these 17 billion, as large as it sounds, they're actually only 1% of your total budget. Because the UK's total budget is 1,670 billion. It's massively more than the tiny bit of EU contribution. And having all the focus on these 1%, that's like, worrying about a spider on the wall if you have an alligator in your room. Maybe you should first worry about the alligator. And the alligator is your own government. And now, I'm a foreigner and I have no right to complain. If I don't like it, I can go back. But if I was British, I'll be furious. Because you get one of the worst deals in Europe by your government. Your government takes enormous amount of taxes, but delivers very little in service to you. It's like you pay for a 5-star hotel, but get to stay in a 2-star hotel. For example, in Germany, they have about the same amount of tax that they take from their GDP. So the UK takes 39% of its GDP in tax. Germany takes 41%, so a little bit, like 2% more. But they have excellent infrastructure. They have free universities. In Germany you can go to study for free. You don't end up in debt. They have pretty good schools. You don't see this class-based split in state schools and public schools like you have it in this country. And you see much less homeless people. They have better social services. In Switzerland, we pay half the tax that you pay, and we have better services. Our infrastructure is better. University is almost for free. Our schools are, again, so good that, the only people who send their sons and daughters to private schools that they pay for are, rich parents with idiotic children, which don't make it in the state schools, which are much better. We have a very good social protection. You don't see homeless people in the street like that. And on top of that, we deal with twice the level of immigration that you deal with. Honestly, I don't know what your government is doing with the money. I don't know. Why are you having to pay so much tax and you get so little back? Your infrastructure is, there's potholes in the streets. You pay a fortune. I mean, your children will be indebted to the end of their life if they go to university. Your schools, you know, if you can't, you almost have to go to a public school. And yeah, you have the NHS, but I mean, honestly, the NHS is not a pleasant experience. I would rather go to a doctor in pretty much any other country than the UK, to be honest. Even if I maybe pay a little bit for it, but you know, I prefer that than having to wait 4 hours in an accident in an emergency place because I twisted my ankle. You know, it's just not good for the amount of money you pay in taxes. And this is really something you should rather focus on than, you know, these 1% of contributions that you pay to the EU. But it's the same psychological effect that, you know, it's always easier to blame someone else than blame your own government, because your own government, you have elected it, and so you kind of, oh shit, we do something wrong with our government, and I think that's right. And the reason I think that's my personal opinion, I think your government is so inefficient is because it's extremely centralized. The UK is one of the most centralized countries. I mean, everything is decided in London. You don't really have regional governments. I mean, you have now a bit of devolving happening to Scotland and a little bit to Wales and Northern Ireland. But England is totally centralized in London. And if you look at Switzerland, it's a completely different model. You have really different regions, and every region has its own budget with which it finances universities, hospitals, roads, and its own tax raising powers. So you have a federal tax, and then you have a regional tax that is being paid. It even goes down to the level of single villages and cities. So each council has its own tax raising powers as well. And this way you create competition and innovation amongst the different regions. And what you could do, and I think that would transform your country, 100 times more than leaving the EU or not paying these 1% anymore. What you could really do is regionalize government, so that you have a regional government that is close to the citizens, that takes into account specifics of the region. I mean, London as a region has completely different needs than, for example, the Scottish Highlands or Yorkshire. I mean, these areas have completely different problems, and so they would need their own specific solutions, their own government. And this way you don't have such behemoths like the HMRC or like the NHS, which just have no incentive at all to be efficient. Because in Switzerland, if one region suddenly has very high tax and delivers very little in service, people just leave. They just move. People and companies just move to another region. And until the inefficient region sorts out its problems, there's constant pressure on these governments to be efficient. And they can either be high tax, but also offer a lot of services. So in Switzerland, you have the urban areas like Zurich, Basel, Geneva. They are a bit more high in tax, but they offer universities, hospitals, social services, a lot of culture. So people are happy to pay a bit more in tax because they get more back. Or you have more rural areas with basic services, but very, very low taxes. And people who have a preference for that can go there as well. And it's the same system in the United States, and to some extent also in Germany. And I think the UK is actually even a more diverse country than Switzerland. I mean, the differences between your regions are massive. and I think that would be a really good model for the UK. So if you take something from Switzerland, I wouldn't take the fact that it's outside the EU. I think much more impact you would get from regionalizing the UK, and that would be really something to copy from Switzerland.